NASA and the Federal Emergency Management Agency has been preparing for the unthinkable, an Armageddon-style asteroid colliding with Earth. Now, it's purely a hypothetical situation right now, but scientists are conducting exercises aimed at protecting the planet, just in case.
4 years from now, a massive asteroid will hit Earth unless scientists do something to stop it. At least that's the fictional scenario that NASA and FEMA have used in their most recent planetary protection exercise. In the latest simulation, scientists have just discovered a 330-foot asteroid that's on par to hit Los Angeles on September 20th, 2020. While 4 years seems like a lot of time to prepare, it's not actually enough to conduct an asteroid deflection mission. But that's exactly the point of this exercise. With very little time, emergency response agencies need to efficiently work together and collect, analyze, and share data. Exercises like these better prepare these agencies for how they will respond in a real-world event of this nature. According to a spokesperson from NASA, it's not a matter of if, but when we will deal with such a situation. Participants include experts from NASA and NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, the Department of Energy, the U.S. Air Force, and California's Governor's Office of Emergency Services. NASA says that during the exercise, quote, we receive valuable feedback from emergency managers about what information is critical for their decision-making, and we take that into account when deciding how to provide information to FEMA about a predicted impact. As of now, NASA says there's no reason to worry because a massive asteroid is unlikely to hit the Earth in the next century. But either way, it's nice to know that experts are preparing for what they say is inevitable.
Three years ago, Haiyan battered the central part of the Philippines, killing more than 6,000. The typhoon inflicted some $13 billion in economic loss, plunging 1 million people into poverty. All this from a World Bank report, which also cites Cyclone Ayla in Bangladesh in 2010 and Hurricane Stan in Guatemala back in 2005. Wherever they strike, natural disasters leave behind much more than a field of ruins. The World Bank has also warned they tighten poverty's grip on communities worldwide. In this video, the message is loud and clear.
Natural disaster losses average more than $300 billion a year. This is how we measure the devastation of floods, earthquakes, droughts and storms, their financial cost. But dollar amounts don't tell the full story.
As it stands, natural disasters set back global spending by the equivalent of $520 billion annually, pushing 26 million people into poverty each year. The World Bank published these findings at the COP22 climate change conference in Marrakesh, saying the report underlined the need to protect the most vulnerable. The international body also calls for improved early warning systems that could bring benefits of $100 billion each year.
There's a very important question that needs to be answered. Will humanity survive? And to look at that threat, we have to ask another question. What is the number one obstacle to human beings and our species surviving and becoming a type 1 civilization that isn't just dependent on this planet? You could say that it's changes in the heavens, suns going supernova, tectonic earthquake and volcano events, nuclear weapons, genetic engineering. But if you look at the race, the acceleration of technological development, I think the biggest threat overall is humanity not pacing ourselves and merging with artificial intelligence. So they're trying to end humanity as if it's a good thing and create this new species. Talk about mad scientists. And there have been several new articles on this just the last few weeks. DARPA is testing implantable chips in soldiers' brains is one of them. Another just came out in mid-April. Rich Americans seeks black market brain implants in bid to plug into artificial intelligence matrix. And they're going to go through the dangerous surgeries of being hooked up, not just with a few wires, but with thousands of connections total, to the brain, to an AI computer to try to merge consciousness.
We don't want to run fast, we want to run faster. We don't want to die at age 100, we want to live, past 120 beyond that. We want to overcome human limitation, and we focus on building technology that augments human capabilities. So what we do with our implants is we design things that currently today can be used to overcome limitations, and we start small. The finger magnet implant is really interesting, because while it can do neat little party tricks like pick up a pin or something like that, it can do much more than that. Hey Zach, this is Jennifer. Hey, I'm Zach, nice to meet you. She's here for the magnet implant.
I had this magnet implanted in my finger as part of a story I'm working on about this subculture of people who are putting things in their bodies to augment human capabilities. I have almost a sixth sense. I can feel these pulses coming from my phone or laptop or the microwave.
I have to ask, was it painful?
It was extremely painful, yes.
There are lots of diseases where the return for implanting the device far exceeds whatever the pain or discomfort of having the procedure done. And like a cochlear implant for people that are hard of hearing or, legally deaf, an insulin pump is technically something you implant to some degree.
Big pharma and the medical industry, from the financial standpoint, is threatened by what we're doing. We're talking about early detection of problems that will ease the requirements on the system, and they're a system designed to make money. We eventually want to go much further than that and work with neurochemistry. Things like serotonin, things like dopamine, things like oxytocin. Getting alerts when these neurochemicals change in your body.
I think there's always a percentage of people that want to try new things. The possibility of doing a microchip that you can put underneath the skin that contains your whole medical record, or could identify people on battlefields in times of war. That's a space where I think there's, a little bit more debate about what makes sense and what's realistic and appropriate risk for return on investment.
Right now, biohacking is a very niche thing. It's kind of underground, but that's really starting to change. And at some point shortly after 5 years, you're going to start to be looked at oddly if you don't have an implant, if you're not augmented in some way.
In Athens today, President Obama took on the role of the Greeks' mythical Cassandra and sent home a warning on politics. But will it be heard? Here's Nancy Cordes.
The 20th century was a bloodbath.
President Obama alluded to the world wars and the Holocaust in response to a question today about the meaning of Mr. Trump's victory.
We are going to have to guard against a rise in a crude sort of nationalism or ethnic identity or tribalism that is built around an us and a them.
The United Nations, no less, now says Iran violated the terms of the nuclear deal. The UN, Ash?
Again, in case you're surprised, yes, it's the amount of what they call heavy water. This is used in the nuclear reactor process that creates plutonium, which is on the path to creating a nuclear bomb. They're only allowed to stockpile a certain amount, and again, they've gone over that amount. This is the second time it happened. Of course, just after a day that Iran issued a warning to America after Donald Trump became president. So
they warned us?
Oh, yeah, there was like a warning to the U.S. that we're not going to be bullied.
Now, the Secretary of Iran's Supreme National Security Council, Ali Shamkhani, says any violation of the landmark nuclear deal between Tehran and the P5+1 group of countries will be dealt with pre-planned measures. Shamkhani stressed that Iran would immediately respond with options if any party to the deal breaches their commitments under the agreement, also known as a Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, or the JCPOA. He noted that all international watchdogs have reaffirmed Tehran's full commitment to the deal. The Iranian senior official added that reimposing sanctions on Iran would harm the nuclear deal. This after Donald Trump won the U.S. presidential election. Trump had said that during his campaign that he would tear up the nuclear deal with Iran.
To some, the relationship between North Korea and Iran is pretty alarming. Both are arguably friends, and they both have a really big enemy in common. Even though Iran and the US did finally find some common ground on the nuclear issue last summer, there's still this lingering question that people don't really want to ask out loud. Is North Korea quietly building a nuclear bomb for Iran? The two countries actually go way, way back to just after Iran's Islamic Revolution. The freshly minted republic was strapped for military hardware, and Pyongyang filled that void. Then came claims of collusion on long-range ballistic missiles and reports the two had forged a sort of nuclear pact. In 1993, Iran was accused of bankrolling North Korea's nuclear program to the tune of $500 million in exchange for nuclear technology and equipment. Fast forward to 2010, and a leaked cable alleges that North Korea sold Iran 19 advanced missiles, both capable of carrying a nuclear warhead and striking targets in Western Europe. So talk of this pairing has been going on for a while, but the Iran nuclear deal inadvertently dialed up the threat of this friendship. Iran now has access to billions of dollars, money that some fear will be poured into nuclear R&D in the cash-poor Hermit Kingdom. Even though a Congressional Research Service report out earlier this year claimed there was no evidence of nuclear collusion between the two, others maintain that Iran could outwardly be following all the rules, while North Korea remains its quiet nuclear proxy. Fast forward 8 years to when Iran is allowed to get going on its own nuclear program, and it theoretically wouldn't have missed a beat.
Iran may soon own $10 billion worth of new military equipment thanks to an arms deal with Russia. Russian Senator Viktor Ozerov told Russian reporters on November 14th that his country was in talks with Iran about a new arms deal. The new deal would include armored vehicles, artillery, warplanes, and combat helicopters amounting to some $10 billion worth of equipment. Ozerov, who has the Parliamentary Defense and Security Committee, said the equipment could reach Iran before 2020, provided the United Nations Security Council permits the sale. However, the US and other Security Council members are expected to resist the sale. If resisting countries impose a block on the sale, Ozerov said negotiations will continue anyway. In 2020, a UN-imposed ban on arms sales to Iran will expire. Despite the ban, some arms have made their way into Iran, including the Russian delivery of S-300 missile air defense systems.
China's Minister of National Defense is in the Iranian capital, Tehran, for talks on regional issues. The Chinese official also discussed bilateral cooperation with his Iranian counterpart. Yusuf Jalali has the details in this following report.
A visit between the defense ministers of Iran and China is not a frequent scene in the relations of the two countries, which usually meet on economic occasions. But now, China's National Defense Minister Chang Guan-chen is in Tehran for 3 days to discuss closer military ties between Tehran and Beijing. The Chinese official met his Iranian counterpart Hossein Dehghan, where the two sides signed an agreement on military and defense cooperation, exchange of military experiences, and a comprehensive fight against terrorism and other destabilizing factors in the region.
Taking off for battle. Russian carrier jets fly off to pound opposition targets in Syria. For the first time, Moscow is using its only aircraft carrier in combat, alongside cruise missiles from its naval frigate.
Caliber cruise missiles were launched from the Admiral Grigorovich frigates to hit predetermined targets. Separately, Bastion coastal missiles have been launched to hit targets deep into the Syrian territory.
Russia kept silent about targeting Aleppo, saying its offensive was aimed at the Islamic State group and the Al-Qaeda-affiliated Al-Nusra Front in rebel-held Idlib and Homs provinces. Moscow claims no Russian nor Syrian jet has bombed Aleppo's old city in the past 28 days. 3 weeks of relative calm was shattered the same day Russia launched its offensive, as dozens of air raids pounded opposition-held eastern Aleppo.
United States could be Syria's natural ally in the fight against terrorism. Speaking to Portugal's RTP state television, Bashar al-Assad said he would be ready to cooperate with Donald Trump's administration to combat the Islamic State group.
Of course, definitely. If they are genuine, they have the will, and if they have the ability, of course, we are the first one to fight the terrorists, because we suffered more than any other one in this world from terrorists. Can he deliver? Can he go in that regard? What about the countervailing forces within the administration, the media, the mainstream media that were against him? How can he deal with it?
Donald Trump hasn't yet outlined a clear foreign policy plan for Syria, but the U.S. president-elect has on several occasions suggested he would be willing to work with Damascus and Moscow.
I don't like Assad at all, but Assad is killing ISIS. Russia is killing ISIS, and Iran is killing ISIS.
Under the Obama administration, the U.S.'s plan of action in Syria was largely to support so-called moderate rebel groups fighting Bashar al-Assad and the Islamic State organization. There's now speculation that Trump could stop financing these rebels after he said last Friday that he had, quote, no idea who these people were. A policy shift which many members of the U.S.-led coalition fear could put an end to Bashar al-Assad's diplomatic isolation.
Clearing houses on the edge of Mosul, men from an Iraqi artillery division discovered a few homemade ISIL rockets and mortars. Nothing too unusual.
There were almost 11 ISIL shells standing up. This is like the prototype for the final product that was made at this factory.
Factory is the right word for what the soldiers then discovered inside. Every single room in this large warehouse yard is a different step on an assembly line geared to mass-produce mortars that I'm told have a range of 6 kilometers.
So this is all the scrap metal that ISIL was making their bombs out of. They would gather it up here, melt it down, and then we can see some examples over here of when they had actually made the bomb in the mold.
Room after room, from tail fin assembly to the paint shop. Here, a box of fuses to be screwed into the tips of the bombs.
Often when we think of a terrorist bomb-making operation, we think of a basement or a room hidden away, but this is genuinely a factory. It is terrorism on an industrial scale.
The men who found this say they've never seen anything like it. Mortars, along with snipers and suicide vehicles, are a key component of ISIL's defense arsenal in Mosul.
You see all those shells. They were supposed to be used against us. Thank God we captured it.
One arms factory neutralized. But the soldiers here have no doubt there are more ahead.
Odie, is Daddy home? Is Daddy home? Is Daddy home? Is he home? Do you see Daddy? Where's Daddy? Is that Daddy? Is that Daddy? Is that your Daddy? Go get him! Go get him! Go get him! Say, come on, Daddy! Say, quit torturing me. Come on, Daddy.